And switching gears now, we're going to talk about that Suez Canal situation where a cargo ship remains stuck, delaying millions of dollars an hour in goods. Now, the work to remove that stuck ship could take weeks. Joining us to talk about this, business and market analyst Seth Denson. Seth, welcome back to Wake Up America.
Morning, Rachel.
Morning to you. Now, the estimated number right now, Seth, $400 million in goods an hour. Experts are saying it could take weeks to remove that. What do you expect to happen to the price of goods over that time? And do you think it will even be removed in weeks, or are we talking months here?
Well, listen, let's talk about the size of this thing. So the Ever Given is effectively the size of the Empire State Building. So wow. Take the Empire State Building, lay it on its side, stick it in the Suez Canal, and that's what we've got going on here. So in addition, this didn't happen at port. This happened a few miles from port in the desert. So it's not like the conditions are really favorable to just quickly get this thing unstuck. Listen, the price of goods, it's really going to depend on how long this takes. I think there will be a short-term panic that may inflate. But at the end of the day, I think that if they can get this thing unstuck pretty quick, we may not have too much of an impact.
Well, it's interesting you talk about the size being the Empire State Building sideways. When you look at the picture, it's hard to tell how big it actually is. We do know it's blocking the busiest canal in the world. There's a better shot now. You can see just a little bit more of its size. Now, hundreds of ships, Seth, go through the Suez Canal daily. What do you think it means for global economy? You're talking about possibly a small inflation, but overall, what do we expect to happen here?
Yeah, global economy means global problems, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, listen, this is one of the three largest shipping routes throughout the world. So global economy, we think, a lot of times when we see these things, we think about imports, right? We think about the goods that are coming through it. We don't oftentimes think about the goods that are going out of it, right? So, U.S. agricultural goods going to Asia and other parts of the world oftentimes flow through this canal. So again, everything hinges on how long it takes to get this thing unstuck. If it's quick and we can do it, we're going to see a bump, a few percentage points for maybe a week or two. The reality is, though, most of the goods that are in our economy now or in our locations, they're already there. So we're probably a few weeks out from really feeling the economic impact, but likely it's going to come.
Interesting. And we know about 12% of the total global trade goes through the Suez, goods like natural gas, refined oil. Do you expect different countries maybe to react differently than the U.S. to this situation?
Well, certainly those that don't have ample supply on their own or are dependent on the energy sector that comes through that area. Listen, this is why we constantly are talking about energy independence here, in the United States specifically, but really why the world needs to make sure they're diversifying their oil and gas supply as well. Because, I think just yesterday, oil production costs went up about 6%. Again, timing is everything. If this goes on for a few more days or even a week or two, we can expect that to inflate greatly, and that's going to impact a lot of countries that don't have other avenues of access.
Well, talking about supply, Seth, I mean, even the pandemic, we saw the world shut down. We saw a major issue with high demand of goods, people ordering everything online. Of course, everyone joked about the toilet paper, but that became a shortage. Furniture, building supplies, a lot of people spending more time at home, revamping their homes, and it taking months to get things, causing major backups. Countries are still trying to catch up from that. How do you think this now delay ties in with the pandemic?
Well, it certainly ties in because the pandemic, we're still in a supply chain whiplash going on from production lines being offline. We're just now getting that ramped up, and then we're hit with this again. So this is a compounding effect. Inflation is already here because of the massive global spending by governments flooding cash into the market. So when you got this, that's going to compound inflation. And again, I think you're going to have the cost of goods going up. Everything hinges on getting this thing unstuck. We got to do that. And if we can do that, maybe it won't be as impactful long term.
And lastly, Seth, you just talked about that massive spending, of course, inflation. American people just started receiving their stimulus package, which is in hopes to better stimulate the economy. But that really depends on if people actually spend that money in the economy. Do you think this situation is going to have any effect on that, causing hesitancy, or they're kind of just two totally separate issues?
Well, no, I think it could. The impact of this is probably, like I said, about 3 weeks away. We're not going to see direct pricing increases until about 3 weeks. The biggest impact, and this is, I almost hate saying this, your Amazon Prime package may take a couple more days because while the supply of those warehouses are full now, they may not be full in a few weeks because of this. So I think that's the greatest impact. It could bump up prices, but we're likely not going to see it for a little bit of time.
The atrocity of not getting same-day delivery.
I know,
How
right?
will we deal? Seth Denson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Rachel.